What's good, guys? Welcome to the Thru It All Podcast. The idea behind each episode is just to kind of uncover one's true story and have honest conversations about overcoming the difficulties of life. And with that, we have today's guest, Mike Dunn. Coach Mike Dunn played college basketball for Philadelphia University and stacked up a bunch of awards there. He hit the 1,000 career point mark as a junior and hit as many as 10 threes in a game. So he was a sniper, still is a sniper, and is currently pursuing a path to become the best shooting coach in the world. So with both in-person and online training access, clients are able to get personalized feedback and based on the part of the shot they want to improve the most. But even more so than that, Coach Mike is just an incredible dude, super authentic, and is impacting thousands of kids worldwide with the platform he has created. So, Coach, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. I need to take you with me everywhere I go, dude. If I'm gonna get an intro like that, you can come to every clinic I do, everything. I'll fly you out. Make sure you're a part of it.
Hey, it's real though, man. It's real. So I just kind of want to start off. What is it about the art of shooting that you are drawn to? Like, why shooting? Why not dribbling?
One, I spent all my time shooting, right? So like I'm like I was a kid that I wasn't that athletically gifted or anything like that. Like I still can't move quick. I never could, right? But you give me a ball and a hoop, and I'm going to go out there and I could shoot for hours, right? So I could kind of figure that out. So it was something along the lines of, well, I'm already pretty good at it, right? So now let's go down this path to see if I can actually teach it, which is two different things. But yeah, that's kind of the reason why. I mean, I was good at it already, but then had to learn the teaching side of it.
Now because I know you played for Herb McGee, and like you called him the shot doctor. So was that something you always wanted to do? Did you always want to be a shooting coach, or how did that kind of come into fruition?
No, not at all. So he used to take me to his camps, right? So in the summertime, he would take me to his camps, and I would demonstrate while he taught.
Okay.
So I kind of had like an idea of things that you could do with it, but it didn't really cross my mind to do it on my end. And it wasn't until I was working in insurance doing something that I just did not like to do, man. Yeah. Right? And then you come to this point, you're like, what else can I do? Like, I need to find something. Man, I don't care if I don't get paid a thing for it, but I need to find something to do that's going to fill me up, right? Because sitting at this desk isn't going to do it. And then I decided I was like, let's go this teaching. Let's go this teaching route. I felt like I was sitting on so much knowledge. I said, well, it's only right to start to try to, relay that to other people. So that's kind of where it all stemmed from. I was like, the 9 to 5 is not going to cut it for me in terms of, making me feel good about myself. So let's find something that does. That's
awesome. And can you kind of run us through that process where you're like, I want to become the best shooting coach in the world? Like, how did that start? What was that leap of faith kind of like when you're leaving all the security that you've known and just going into a world of something that's unknown? And I think it's super cool because I've been following you for a long time, and just hearing you talk about that here and there has just been super cool. So I'd love to hear the full story.
Yeah, man. It's like, first of all, I wrote it down. I was in a hotel room in Boston for a work training. And I remember sitting in the work training and like looking around at other people in that training. And it's not like it's not like I ever felt like I was better than anybody, but I was like looking around and I was watching the people that were training us, that were coming in older. And like, I kept having this vision of myself in those positions, and I can't do, like, I don't see myself there, right? Like, I don't see that. And so ultimately I remember calling my wife, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I need to figure out what else I'm going to do. And she was super supportive of it. And I went back to the hotel room that night, and I still have it. I still carry it with me. And I wrote on there, become the best shooting coach in the world. And I signed it and I dated it. And literally from that point on, it was soak up as much information, learn as much, read as much as I could, get in front of as many kids as I could, take on any client that would damn near trust me to do this. Like, everything, man, and all outside of 9 to 5 hours. So like, I still worked the 9 to 5, and then I just built and built and built and built and built and built.
Jeez, how was it? You mentioned still working the 9 to 5 while trying to pursue that other path is like a shooting coach, right? So that's a lot of things to balance. You know what I mean? So
right.
how did you juggle that? You know, because 9 to 5, that's a huge portion of the day. So you have
right.
the morning before that, and then after when you're like gassed from the rest of the day. You know what I mean? So like talk to me about how you worked through that and got through those long days. I
just didn't sleep a lot. Right. So like, right. I mean, as like weird as that sounds, I really didn't. So my days, I would start my day at 4. Well, when I was living in Nashville, I wake up between 3:30, 3:45 in the morning.
Jeez.
And that's when everything would start. So I would do basketball stuff, like working through things so I could feel it, so I could teach it. I'd get my workout in. I'd go work the 9 to 5, and then after that, I'd have clients that finish there. The thing with the 9 to 5 world is it teaches you. First of all, it teaches you a lot, like from the business side, from a relationship standpoint, communication standpoint. But a lot of 9 to 5 jobs are very. I just read this book called Deep Work, and he defines deep work and shallow work. A majority of 9 to 5s is there's a lot of shallow work in there, meaning it's not like it takes tons of brain power to do.
Gotcha.
People will tell you it takes tons of brain power to do, but it doesn't take that much, right? So that's kind of the benefit of it. You can start to create these systems for yourself within those positions that you can kind of run on autopilot, right? So I'm that 9 to 5 is on autopilot. And the real mind power comes outside of it when I'm starting to build this business, right? So, it's a good thing. It was a good thing to have because it paid the bills at the time when I was making $0.
Yeah. And how long did it take you to realize that you weren't like fulfilled with that 9 to 5? You're like, hey, I want to go a different route, try to pursue something else.
I think I realized it in like 2013. But it took me a while to get into the basketball side of things. But I realized it when I started working out, like physical fitness wise. And I'm such a big champion for that kind of stuff because when you can start to see changes in yourself physically, kind of does something to you mentally that says, well, all I did was show up every day. I just showed up and now I'm seeing changes physically. And then it kind of puts you on this path of, well, what else changes can I do? Like, all right, I did the easy. The body's kind of easy, right? But then it's like, well, how can I start to do this to my mind, and how can I dive into other things? So it really started with working out in like 2013, like really, because I was fat, man. I was like out of shape. Yeah. I got up to almost 260 pounds, and I like walk around at 215 now.
Wow.
But yeah, like it was like one of those things where I did that, and I was like, okay, what's next? And it was kind of like this snowball effect.
Wow. Because I remember my dad would always send me like your stories where you'd put the pre-workout or protein powder in your cup and then the 406 filter, whatever time it was. And you're like getting pumped on a Monday. I'm like, man, this dude is different, like in a great way. Right. So like, how do you, like you said, thank God it's Monday. Is that your thing?
Thank God it's Monday, man.
What's the story behind that?
Working in those jobs, like people dread coming to work.
Right.
Like, and when you get there and you say, hey man, what's up? Like, how's your day? Everybody's gonna be like, another Monday, right? And everybody's always in a bad mood about it. And so I started to look at Mondays as like, okay, this is a brand new start to the week, right? I just started my Monday at 4:00 in the morning. I got my workout in. I'm going to do all I can. I come in, and then I just started taking this perspective of, I'm going to make this the best day there is. And I don't care how crazy people think I am for doing. Like you could go back to any office I worked in from 2013 on, and they will tell you, I guarantee, because a lot of those people had no idea I was even doing basketball things. So I guarantee they would tell you, they're like, oh, that's the guy that loves Mondays.
That's incredible.
I would say it to everybody, man. And so it got to the point where we go on these big, I'd go to these big dinners with clients and all this kind of stuff like that. And for the job I was working, and the first thing the guy that I worked for would say to these potential clients were like, this is Mike. And then he would say, can you believe this guy loves Mondays? And it was like this, like whatever. It was because everybody's socially awkward, right? So like he didn't know what to say. But that's how they would introduce me, right?
That's
so
awesome.
It's so funny that's how it kind of came to be.
That's so cool that you flipped that, because even for me, and I feel a lot of people in this world, it's the exact opposite, right? It's the weekend.
For sure.
Friday. So that's incredible that you did that, man. Kind of spitballing off of what you said is like, hey, I just showed up. So
yeah.
we live in a world where there's a lot of instant gratification, and you talk about this on your posts. And once again, another one of the sayings that I love from you is you can't buy a jump shot. So go into depth about that. I mean, I know it's self-explanatory, but you have a deeper understanding like just how to improve at the art of shooting.
Yeah. And it kind of ties into like, I started like, I think kind of like the best gift that we can have is not having one in a sense.
Ooh.
Right.
Yeah.
So like because we're literally learning machines, man. Like we can, you right now could decide after this podcast, you'd be like, man, I'm going to do X. And if you're willing to put in the time to study whatever it is that becoming X entails, and then putting in the time to doing it, and then just showing up every day, and then that starts to compound, you will become X in some capacity, like to a degree, right? Like you can't just say, I'm going to be 7 foot, because you know what I mean? Like, but like in terms of skill sets, right? Like you can get really freaking good at skills, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like with a jump shot, it doesn't even matter if you're more naturally inclined to shoot the ball well. You're going to reach some ceiling with that, with just the quote unquote natural ability. You have to be willing to go further and further and further, deepen your understanding of it to get to that point where you can really do it, right? So I think it's such a powerful thing. And one of the coolest things about doing it is seeing people. It's the same thing that worked with me in the weight room in terms of me just exercising started to expand my mind on what's possible. Watching people go from 0 to 6-man on their team to now making shots in games. For some kids, man, like you take a 6th grade kid that started to do that, like that can change everything for them in terms of what they think they're capable of, right? So it takes time, right? It takes time, it takes understanding, it takes showing up, but literally anybody can do it. Just not many want to put the time in to do so.
And perfectly said, by the way. And what age did you like realize that, okay, I want to go all in with this shooting thing. I want to become great at being an artist on the basketball court?
So I would have been, well, I guess when I wrote it down, that would have been 2016.
Okay.
2016 was where I was like, okay, the decision's been made. It's time to like go all in on this. And I'll tell people like, bro, I made $0 for 4 straight years.
Wow.
Like when you like give and take, like what gas, like 0, nothing. Like waking up every morning, $0.
Man,
0.
That's so cool though. Like how did you stay motivated? What would you tell someone in a similar situation on, hey, like I haven't made money in 4 years. How do I keep going?
Because you're building a skill set, right? Like I don't know if you know Naval Ravikant, but he always talks about like he'll always say, and I found this later, but he said it so well. He always says, "Be patient. It takes 10 years to build a career," right? So in that regard, like I've actually done it, started to do it quicker. Yeah. But the way I looked at it was I could always see myself in the position that I knew I was going to be in one day. Like I could see myself being like, this is where I'm going to go. I remember being on a call with somebody, and like again, $0, and he was like, well, what's the goal with this? And I was like, I'm going to travel all over the world, and I'm going to bring my family with me, and I'm going to teach basketball. And the guy was like, that seems like a pretty out there goal. And I've done it, man. Yeah. Like I've done that now. Like I've gone to different countries and brought my family with me to just teach basketball. I think if you can hold the vision of what you think it's going to look like, or what you know it's going to look like in your mind, then it makes those Monday mornings that much easier, because you know you're just one step closer. Like I'm going to show up every day, man. It's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm going to show up. It might not be my best day, but I'm going to be there, and I'm going to work towards that goal. And that's just the way I've always approached things.
That's so cool, man. What would you tell the 2016 version of yourself that just decided, hey, I'm going all in, after like reflecting on that, I guess what would it be, 6 years now? What would you tell him?
I'd say that's awesome. And then I'd say, but just understand that right now in 2016, you don't know anything. That's what I would say. Like I would tell myself, like, I thought I knew things, and I look back at even a year ago, and I'm like, damn, I didn't know. Like, I didn't know. Like, I wish I could. There's still things that you're always figuring out. You're like, if I could just go back in time and help that person, because I have a better way of doing this now. I have a better understanding. I've worked with more people. I've seen more things. So it's like this constant, it's humbling, like to think that I know I don't know it all, and I'm only going to get better. So I think understanding that super early on would be really beneficial.
Almost like a lifetime student. Always
you have to be
up stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not, if you're not learning, you're dying, man. Like you're going to be stagnant for forever if you're not. The last book you read is the book, whatever book it is, when you leave college. Maybe some people don't even read books in college. Like, life's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. The learning starts after that.
Yeah.
Like, that's when the real learning starts. That's when you really start to find out who you are, what you want to do, all that kind of stuff. So pick up books. Please pick up books.
What book sticks out to you? I know you mentioned the book Relentless on some episode or something by Tim Grover, but what one speak to you the most that you can kind of relate to?
My favorite book of all time is Think and Grow Rich.
Yep.
I read that book multiple times. I pretty much carry it with me wherever. I keep it in my gym bag. So like when I have a down moment, I'm going to be reading that book. I love that book. The One Thing is a phenomenal book. Man, there's so many. The Almanac of Naval Ravikant was for me like a life-changing type book, just to see that guy's perspective on things. That was really big. But there's so many, man. There's just like there's so many. But Think and Grow Rich is what I recommend to everybody.
And how do you apply that knowledge that you kind of soak up from a book? Are you constantly thinking about it? Do you write it down, or like on a notebook and you're just going through the day processing it, or how does that work for you?
I don't write it down. I think it's one of those things. Bob Proctor, he just passed away, but Bob Proctor said in an interview once, he said, so when you read something a second or a third time, it's not that you're seeing words you missed the first time. You're seeing parts of yourself that weren't there the first time you read it, right?
Wow.
So I'll read books over and over again, because while you're reading those same words, they're now connecting on a whole different level than they used to connect to. And you can use that stuff in how you communicate, in how you teach, all that kind of stuff. It all starts to, become this blend of taking everybody else's opinions or thoughts and then molding, kind of molding them to your own view on the world and to the people that you interact with.
That's awesome. Like, what would you say was your, kind of going back to your start of your shooting coach journey, what was your biggest fear or kind of a negative thought that like almost ruled your mind and you kind of gave power to?
I was scared to speak.
And is that in front of like just a big group, or if your information was true, or like what was the fear kind of unpacked behind that?
Yeah, it was a combination of, are these people going to think I'm crazy? And I hate talking in front of a lot of people.
Really?
Yeah. So it was like a combination of that kind of stuff that was the biggest thing to begin.
And how did you get over it? Is it something you have to deal with every time you get up and speak in front of people, or is it kind of like a natural thing for you now?
Yeah, I don't care anymore. I don't know where that I didn't do anything special I just did it. Right. So it was like, drag yourself out there and do it. I think like in starting to see results with kids and players and knowing it worked, it kind of just developed this confidence of, hey man, I know this works.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be up to how you receive it in terms of if you really want to dive into this and just doing it. And then, I mean, now I look forward to it, man. Like now it's like, hey, let's rock, man. Let's do this thing. But yeah, man, I was scared. I was scared to do that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. Like coming out of college, like what, or I guess let's take it back. Let's go to high school. What was your ultimate dream? Like, what did you want to do? Did you want to be a shooting coach? Like, what would you imagine your life looking like?
I just wanted to play professionally. Like that was it. Like that was the goal, man. I was like, I want to play professionally. That's the big. That would be the ultimate for me as a high schooler. And then that didn't happen. It didn't happen largely because towards the end of my college career, I tell kids it's like I stopped working, man.
Really?
Just I like it was like it was too much for me at the time. Like I just couldn't. Like towards the end of it, I was burnt out, and it became like this crawl to the finish line versus like finishing super strong. I even had agents calling after. I had agents calling asking about potential D League, some D League stuff going on, which is the G League now.
Yeah.
Some overseas type stuff, and I was like, nah, man, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Because I was that burnout mentally, I just wasn't strong enough to handle it.
And how do you has that like tied into like what you're doing now? Have you taken a lesson from that specific moment and implemented it into the person you are today?
Yeah, I mean, but I think it had to happen, right? So like, I don't know if the path I go down, if that does happen, is the same path. I don't. Not pursuing that eventually forced me to really find out like who I was and what I really, really enjoyed to do. And I couldn't see myself doing anything else now. Like even playing doesn't excite me the same way that seeing and working with players on a one-on-one level does. Like that to me is the ultimate.
That's awesome. What would you say is the coolest memory you have of your shooting coach career? Like what moments pop up into your head as one of the best?
One of the coolest, man. So like one of the most surreal was when I did a shooting camp in Brazil, and I got to the shooting camp and going to another country where obviously languages or English is not the primary language, and a lot of them don't even speak English. But all the kids knew who I was. And parents coming up to me, then telling me that they've been implementing my stuff with their kids, them being familiar with concepts before I've ever met them. Like to me, that was a weird moment, right? Like because you don't understand the impact that you're having, and then you get to another country, and these kids are like, see Mike Dunn, and you know, like, pictures and and it's just like that was crazy, man. That was crazy in all awesome ways.
That's so awesome. Well, that speaks very highly of your character, because another thing I wanted to mention is we had a game last night, and I was getting food with one of my teammates. His name was Josh, and we were talking, and I was like, yeah, I'll get dinner with you tomorrow or whatever, but I got a podcast. He's like, oh, who you got on? I'm Mike Dunn. He's like, the shooting guy from Instagram? And I'm like, yeah, that's the guy. And he was like, I love that dude, because he replied, like he said, I couldn't make a basket where he was at. And he's like, I sent him a text and we had a full on conversation. He's like he didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? And that's something I always noticed with you and my dad, especially when I was little. We DM you and you get back to us, you know, like you don't expect someone of that. You see all those people following you and it's like, oh, there's no chance he's going to reply, and he replies, right? So that was super cool, and that's definitely one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on. It's just like, you're different, man. It's super cool.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that.
But like the original, that's awesome. That's so cool to me. I love hearing like that stuff. But like, I just know that the reason I started doing it to begin with was to help parents. Like I wanted parents to be able to help pass down information to their kids, right? So like if I had like a dad or somebody being like, hey, I've been working with my son, I've been doing like, for me, it hits like this super soft spot, and I'm like, I want to help you like however I can. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I remember being out there with my dad and how amazing that was. So that's really cool, man. It's really cool.
Yeah, man. So thank you for that. I appreciate you. And kind of just to wrap it all up, what does before we get into the last rapid fire question round, what does Thru It All mean to you?
Thru It All. I think it probably just ties back into the idea of showing up every day, no matter you know what the situation presents in front of you. If you can have that vision of what the ultimate goal looks like, and you can really, really picture it and envision it, then I think Thru It All sums things up in terms of you're going to get there, no matter what's thrown your way. What I tell kids is, man, everything that's happening every day, as long as you keep that vision in mind, it's going to somehow serve a purpose in order for you to get to where you need to go. So it may seem like the worst day or the worst week or the worst month, but somehow that's some type of bridge that's going to get you to that ultimate, that place that you're trying to go. So I think when you start to look at things that way, you can get through things much easier.
I love it, man. That's perfectly said. Now we're going to transition into a couple questions at the end here. So the first one, a little 180 from what we've been talking about. But what's your favorite order from Chipotle? What are you getting?
So it's double rice, or not double rice. I just say, please put more rice in there because they always put on the rice.
Yeah.
So lots of rice, double steak, fajitas, sour cream, cheese, corn, mild salsa. That's it.
No guac.
No guac. I don't do that. I don't do the guac on the bowl. I'll get chips and guac, but I don't like the guac. They put too much guac in there and it overpowers the bowl. No. And they charge you for it.
Gotcha. Okay. Next question. If you could have dinner with any three people of your choice from the past or now, who would you eat with?
Wow. The one would be Naval, who I've talked about a bunch of times. A lot of people are going to have no idea who he is, but I'd love to have dinner with him. I'd probably go back in time and have dinner with Napoleon Hill. And then the last one, trying to think of somebody who I just watch a lot or read a lot. Maybe, yeah, it's gonna have no correlation. It'd be Tracy McGrady because he was my idol growing up. Like I would like to just sit down with him too. So that makes no sense with the other two. It'd be a very strange dinner conversation. But that's my guy. You know what I mean? That's my guy.
Awesome. And then the last one I always finish with is, what advice would you give to yourself at your lowest?
At my lowest? There's another day, man. Like it's I know that sometimes in the moment it may feel like the world is closing in on you, but if you can just zoom out, right? Like if I know things may seem crazy, but if you took that view of what you're doing right now from 20,000 feet up in the air and you look down on yourself, you're going to see that everything is still calm in the world. Everything's all right. The day is going on. It's not, in the moment it may seem crazy, but if you can zoom out and understand, see the bigger picture, see the macro instead of the micro, you're going to be all right at the end of the day.
That's awesome, man. Coach Mike Dunn, I appreciate your time so much, man.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me on, dude.
Yeah, you're the man. You're the man. Everything you do is great. You know, I loved all the stuff you've put out or helped us with. So thank you, man.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.